Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to dive into some really essential insights from the Special Olympics coaching resources with you today. A lot of the time, we just think of a workout or a competition as the main event, right? The heavy lifting, the fast sprinting, the big game. But let's actually reframe that today. An athletic workout is really more like a carefully planned journey. It requires a deliberate biological transition to safely rev our bodies up to peak performance and an equally deliberate transition to bring them back down to earth. If we skip these transitions, well, we aren't just risking a bad performance, we're literally risking serious injury. So here is our roadmap for today's journey. First, we'll look at the power of warming up. Second, the 3 steps to get warm. Third, the importance of cooling down. And fourth, the steps for a safe recovery.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the power of warming up.
Now, a warm-up has to be the non-negotiable, very first activity of any training session or competition, period. But it isn't just about getting your muscles moving. It's actually a vital dual process designed to bring both our physical engine and our mental focus up to speed. We're targeting the heart and the brain at the exact same time. We need physical readiness and we need mental engagement. Because honestly, if either of those is lacking, the athlete simply isn't prepared to perform safely.
There's just a massive amount of biology at work here. When we start a warm-up nice and slow, and then gradually dial up the difficulty, we're intentionally triggering some very specific physical benefits. We're actively pumping up our heart rate and our breathing rate. We're essentially opening up the floodgates to increase blood flow straight to the active muscles we're about to use. And by doing that, we bump up our overall body and muscle temperature. So the main takeaway here is that these specific physical shifts are exactly what prepare the body for the stress of sport. They are quite literally our primary defense against injuries.
But we definitely can't forget the other side of that dual process. The mental benefits are absolutely just as crucial. Think of the warm-up as a mental bridge. It actively pulls an athlete's attention away from the daily grind and locks their focus completely onto the sport in front of them. It gives them a structured time to mentally run through skills they've learned. And maybe most importantly, it connects the mind and the body. It solidifies things like hand-eye coordination before the real pressure even starts.
Okay, let's move into Section 2, 3 steps to get warm. So while every sport has its own unique set of skills, experts agree there's a clear, predictable routine that really should be the foundation of all warm-ups. It's a 3-part sequence: aerobic activity, then dynamic stretches, capped off with sport-specific movements. Having this predictable routine is incredibly helpful for athletes to get grounded. Oh, and keep in mind, the golden rule across this whole sequence: always start slow and gradually build up that intensity.
Let's break down Step 1. For the first 5 minutes, the goal is purely aerobic, whole body movement just to get that heart rate up. We're talking walking, jogging, skipping, or hey, even dancing. It's a fantastic chance to be creative and actually make training fun. By the time these 5 minutes are up, athletes should be feeling warm, maybe just a little bit out of breath, and totally energized for what's next.
Moving right along into Step 2, we hit dynamic stretching, which should take roughly 5 to 10 minutes. Now these are active, controlled movements that take body parts through a full range of motion. Think arm circles or leg swings. Experts highly recommend these dynamic stretches during the warm-up phase instead of your traditional hold-in-place stretches. Why is that? Well, dynamic movements ensure that the elevated heart rate and body temp we just worked so hard to build up in Step 1 actually stay elevated. Plus, studies show that dynamic stretches are way better at reducing injuries before an event.
And finally, Step 3 focuses on sport-specific movements for another 5 to 10 minutes. This is where you transition into the core skills and agility drills unique to your specific sport, going from simple actions to the more complex ones. This perfectly primes the exact muscles, joints, and ligaments the athlete is actually going to rely on. Oh, and a huge pro tip for coaches right here: athletes need to stay active during this phase to keep their bodies warm, so completely avoid those lengthy stand around and listen explanations. Keep them moving, keep them practicing.
Which brings us to Section 3, the importance of cooling down.
Okay, fast forward with me for a second. The workout is over, the game is won, but guess what? The journey is not finished yet. I really want to make a distinct shift here because this is so incredibly crucial. A proper cooldown is just as important as the warm-up. Seriously, we just spent all that effort revving the engine up. We can't just turn the key and yank it out while we're still flying down the highway. A solid cooldown is exactly how we safely and gradually return the body to a state of rest.
Physiologically speaking, we are now deliberately decreasing what we just elevated.
We're bringing down the heart rate, the breathing rate, and our body and muscle temperatures. But at the same time, this active decrease promotes some amazing deep recovery, like improving flexibility and knocking out that muscle soreness. By doing this, we significantly speed up our overall rate of recovery from exercise, and we promote this deep mental and physical relaxation. Basically, we are purposefully reversing the biology of our warm-up.
Let's wrap it up with Section 4, Steps for a Safe Recovery.
A typical cooldown starts out with some light aerobic activity. You step down the intensity from a jog down to a brisk walk and finally end up in a nice slow walk. Once the heart rate starts to settle, we completely switch our stretching strategy. While dynamic, active stretches are perfect for the warm-up, traditional, static stretching is the absolute king during the cooldown. These are those classic stretches you hold for 30 seconds or more to really improve flexibility. And please remember, these should only be performed to the point of mild discomfort, never, ever pain.
And there is a very vital point of caution from our source material right here. Coaches have to be acutely aware of any athletes who are hypermobile, which, by the way, is a pretty common trait in athletes with Down syndrome. It's especially important to ensure that these athletes are super cautious about the intensity of every single stretch. For coaches and athletes alike, safety and bodily awareness just have to remain our absolute top priority during the cooldown.
As the physical cooldown winds down, it opens up this fantastic opportunity. These final, quiet moments of recovery are just the perfect time to review the session. Coaches can lay out what to expect for next time and ask athletes for their feedback while everyone is feeling calm, grounded, and attentive.
To put a bow on everything, we have to instill some fundamental post-session essentials. We need to remind our athletes to drink plenty of water and grab a healthy recovery snack. Actually, the Special Olympics Fit 5 Guide is a wonderful resource you can check out for some really great hydration and nutrition suggestions. Finally, as the body completely relaxes, introducing techniques like controlled breathing or visualization can work absolute wonders for an athlete's mental game, leaving them totally prepared and super confident for their next session.
So that brings us to the end, and I want to leave you with this question to ask yourself. Are you treating your warm-ups and cooldowns as just optional add-ons, or do you see them as the absolute most critical biological transitions of your athletic journey? Armed with the structured step-by-step knowledge we just went through, I challenge you to permanently elevate how you build your training routines. Thank you so much for exploring this topic with me today, and hey, keep learning.